Assalamu alaikum.
Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. Can anyone hear me?
Welcome,
So I think we're ready to start now.
Should we start? Can you hear me? Should we start?
Yes, Sheikh. Inshallah, if you can start, please.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, we'll start straight away. I think some technical issues which started late. I want to discuss today about something really important, something that has been going around on social media about some people posting about I'm sure brothers and sisters here have heard about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid, and there were some Muslim kind of speakers and generally some Muslim counselors and generally Muslims were discussing, because apparently some people have discovered now that Maslow, he introduced and we discussed the 5 hierarchy of needs, but later on he introduced something else. The highest was the self-actualization, but the people have discovered that he has also added in something else which is called self-transcendence. Obviously it's not anything new. This is people who've studied this would know. And his hierarchy of needs is taught at university and psychological courses, but in a very superficial manner. It's not that popular, and I thought it's important for us to understand them, because we can relate it to Islamic teachings. So a lot of it we can relate it to Islamic teachings, because there are certain needs that needs to be met from the human perspective in order for us to thrive and flourish in this world, whether it be spiritual needs. From the Islamic perspective I'm talking about, our spiritual needs, our physical needs, physiological needs, our mental needs, our psychological needs, the need or the desire to reproduce, to populate, the need to eat, right? The need for shelter, the need for love and belonging. All these are Islamic principles, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created he created us. So when he created us, he created our whole being, our physical, our metaphysical, our spiritual, the aql, the mind, the jasad, the body, and the ruh, the spirit, the nafs, the soul. He created everything, and for each of these different faculties or of the human existence, there are certain things that we need to do in order to fulfill feed those different faculties, feed those different organs, if you like. So, for example, physically, right? We have to eat. We have to eat, otherwise we'll not be able to survive. If there are doctors, they can correct me. I think we can't go. A human being cannot survive with more than, I think, a week without eating. Yeah, more than a week without eating, right? And drinking. So we need. It's a natural thing built within us that we desire food. Yeah, we desire food. We need sleep, for example, for our physical well-being, but also our mental and psychological well-being, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions in the Quran, and coincidentally, Allah says he has made the night a sleep for you, meaning the night is for sleeping and a day for working. And new scientific discoveries have has demonstrated that actually when we sleep, our bodies excrete certain if you like, things that will help our physical body, right? And if we don't sleep properly, if we don't get the right amount of sleep, that will have that adverse impact and affect our psychological well-being. And actually, the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, all point to this. So we need to be with other people. We are social beings, right? And the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, Islam is predicated. Islam is based upon social relationships. Why do we go to Salah, for example, right? Yes, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also to connect with other human beings, so socially and also spiritually. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, it's pray in your house all the time. No, but you have to attend the mosque, right? So you see what's happening with the community. So everything, the physical aspects, the 5 pillars, I always have, they all have a spiritual angle, a spiritual perspective to them, right? So there are the main thing is that when there we need companionship, right? We need to be heard, we need to be loved, we need to be, we all have certain egos, right? We need certain things to be fulfilled, right? We need a certain emotion to be fulfilled. When those needs are not being met properly in a balanced way, right? When those needs are met in an unbalanced manner. So for example, certain people, they always focus on one area of the existence, one area of their living, always to meet their physical needs. Right? And what happens is that we become so engrossed in chasing after materialistic gains, right? And for many of us, or many people in the West, for example, and many people who are rich and affluent, they meet those physical needs, right? They meet those physical, material, animal needs, if you like, right? But a lot of them will complain that they don't feel satisfied, they don't feel happy. Why? Because they're only focusing on one aspect. Because it doesn't mean we need to meet those physical needs, right? We need to be heard, we need to be validated, right? We need social interactions. At the same time, also we need to be balanced in that. We also need our spiritual needs to be met. So when those needs are not being met, right, in a balanced way, right, that we face difficulties, right? We face difficulties. We face physical as well as psychological difficulty. And the experts have mentioned that when our psychological needs are not being met, right, and we have psychological problems, then that can transfer into development of physical medical problems. Actually, Ibn Sina and other scholars of the past, they actually said this, that if for example our psychological needs are not met, in my words I'm explaining, if our psychological, even our spiritual needs are not being met, that can have a negative impact on our physical well-being. If, for example, our physical well-being, we're not meeting our physical needs, right, that can have adverse and negative impact on our psychological well-being. Our scholars have discussed this quite in detail. It's only recently in the West that they've discovering this, right? Why? Why? Because our scholars, they take the inspiration from the Quran Sunnah, and the Quran Sunnah, the principles are already laid there. For example, basic hadith, when the Sahabi came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, I'm going to sleep, or I'm going to stay up all night and pray. I'm going to fast during the day. What did the Prophet say? He said, right? I believe it was Abu Dhar. So yeah, Abu Dhar, your body has a right over you. Your wife, your family have a right over you, right? So give everything and everyone their due right. And he said, I, right, pray in the night and I fast, right? But I also give time to sleep. I also give time to my family. I also do. So he was the most obviously balanced human being, the most moderate and balanced human being from his physical appearance to his spiritual awareness, psychological well-being. He was the most balanced human being, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? And the Quran, as I mentioned, talks about having the right amount of sleep, yeah, having a right amount of food, having the right amount of social interaction. Too much, if you like, social interaction, right, can be a problem, right? That's why too much social media interaction can be a problem. Yeah, so everything needs to be with balance, right? So I want to quickly mention those psychological, those hierarchy of needs, and then add in extra things that people may not be aware of. The first thing he mentions are the physiological needs, as I mentioned, right? Physiological needs, right? And these are like biological requirements, yeah, for us human beings to survive. For example, we need air, for example, right? We need food, as I mentioned. We need drink, right? We need excuse me. We need shelter, right? We need clothing. We need we need to be intimate with our spouses. We need sleep, right? And as I said, if these needs are not met, or if these needs are not satisfied, the human body cannot function in the most optimal manner, in the most productive way. And you can these are one of the most these are some of the most important, if you like, needs that human being needs to function properly as in this world. So physiological needs, first one. Number two, what he called the safety needs, right? So once an individual, once a person's psychological, physiological, needs are met and are satisfied, right? The need for safety, become more prominent in the eyes of that person, right? So, for example, people need order. Why do we have governments? Why do we have rules? Why do we have regulations, right? We need order, otherwise there'll be chaos, right? When there is chaos, people become imbalanced in their approach. People become imbalanced, erratic in their in their behavior, right? So the society needs a police force, for example. Society needs medical care. Society needs schools. Society needs leaders, right? Otherwise, there'll be chaos. And when there is chaos, the human beings were not created in to live in chaos. There's an order. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's created us. He's created the universe, right? With mizan, وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَان, with balance, with moderation, right? The sunnah of Allah, the convention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change. There's an order, right? The sun does not overtake the moon, and the moon does not overtake the sun, as the Quran mentioned. Everything floats, everything swims in order. There's fine tuning, right? There's in the fine tuning argument to prove the existence of God. There's fine tuning. Similarly, within our body, physical, our spiritual, our social, our existence, living, we need order. Otherwise, we'll not be able to thrive or flourish in this dunya. Number three, what you say, love and belongingness, right? So we need to be loved, right? We need to belong, right? Friendship, intimacy, trust, right? We need to be accepted, right? We need to receive and also give affection and love and compassion towards others. We need to belong to a group. These are all needs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within us, right? That if we don't meet, then we'll be in trouble. The fourth is if you like, self-esteem or esteem needs, right? To have honor, right? To have dignity, to have a sense of achievement, right? Have a sense of independence and have a sense of mastery of things. The desire for reputation, fame, and respect, status, prestige. We all need that to a certain extent, right? We need to be heard, as I said, right? When a person, is not heard, as I mentioned, right? then the person may face psychological problems. And the fifth thing is self-actualization, right? And that is the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that refers to the person's thinking of self fulfillment, seeking individual or personal growth, to seek peak experiences of what you uh, what a person can do and what a person can achieve, right? So these are, physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem needs, right, and self-actualization. Later on, not many people, knew this or know this, is that later on, Maslow added another. No, and obviously there are others who would disagree, right? There are others who say like reproduction is very, very important, right? So not all will agree with the order and whatnot, right? If you Google Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'll probably see in Google Images a pyramid. I know he did not develop this pyramid, the visualization of his needs. It was a business consultant that visualized the pyramid. So again, not many people know this. In fact, when Maslow back in 1943 or can't remember 44, when he's a Jewish psychologist, right? He wrote some papers and books about the hierarchy of needs, and I mean he was not really well known, and not many people kind of regarded his work to be that great, to be honest, right? Even now, these are not really given that much attention because these are givens. Like, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this, right? These are givens. Excuse me. But what happened was that the business community, they looked at it and said, hang on a minute, we can use this for capitalism, right? For economic growth, for productivity, worker employee productivity. So they began to implement it, and they began to ask him to go to different companies, give his understanding of those needs, right? And it was the business community that promoted him, right? And he wasn't very comfortable with it, but he ran with it because he was getting paid, and he was being recognized, yeah. But it was the business, word, if you like, a business consultant who visualized the pyramid. Otherwise, it was just words, right? And because most people know this now, is because of the business world, right? So but later on in 1960 or 76, 77, something like that. I can't remember the exact date. He before he passed away, he developed self-transcendence, right? Where a person's, if you like, other needs could be met, right? That a person is motivated by certain values, right? It could be, in his words or in his understanding, it could be mystical experiences, right? Experience with nature, right? Even sexual experiences, service to others, being with others, and service to the world, and service to others, right? The pursuit of science, or even religious faith. So not many people will talk about or emphasize um, this kind of need, right? Because they want to approach from a secular perspective. Because as I said, he was a Jew. He may have believed in God, right? But he grew up in a Jewish family, right? So he had the understanding of faith, right? He has an understanding of faith. So in his understanding of the last need, we can posit the idea or the understanding that he did definitely included spirituality, definitely included belief in God. For Muslim, that's the most highest need. For Muslim, everything has to correlate with the belief in God, with the love of God, with the connectedness with God. If a person does not have that and has other things, the person will not be able to flourish in this dunya, and most importantly, the next dunya. Yeah, and you need revelation. You need Quran and Sunnah. You need revelation to really guide the natural needs of the human beings, to moderate the natural needs of the human being. Otherwise, if it's left to our own tools and own understanding, then there'll be imbalance. Yeah. So the most important thing for as Muslims to focus on is the spiritual needs. They need to believe in God. They need to have, a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They need to have religion. Right? Without that, then we will be nowhere. I'll end here, inshallah. I hope I don't want to take more of your time, near 2 o'clock. I'll end here. If you have any comments or questions, we'll take a couple of minutes for that. Otherwise, we'll end there, inshallah. Nothing.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Apologies for the beginning, by the way. I had some technical issues, which are now resolved. But yeah, has anyone got any questions at the moment? I'm just looking. Looks like we don't have any questions today. Sheikh, you explained everything so beautifully. That must be why. Would you actually just finish with the dua then, please?
الصلاة والسلام على الكريم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to meet in the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our connectedness with Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our love for Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our love for Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.